Oh my god, there's a tournament this weekend. What should I play? I haven't played Expedition much recently. If only I knew some people that were really good at Eternal with a lot of tournament success. Hey, what's up everyone? Sunyveil here, and before we get started with episode 19 of FECast, now presenting Expedition, in preparation for the Spring QCP Challenge, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our generous patrons over at patreon.com. These people help support FECast and make it possible, so a big shout out to D-Dub, camat0, Yeast Out, Work Done Son, and Chrissier for the generous contributions to Friends of Eternal. Alright, without any further ado, let's get into episode 19 of FECast, now presenting Expedition, with honored guests camat0 and TheBoxer. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 19 of FECast, the official podcast of Friends of Eternal. Today's episode is entitled, Now Presenting Expedition. Today we're going to be talking about some of the balance changes that happened within the past week and the Spring QCP Challenge. Joining me on today's cast is the person who's going to tell us whether certain cards or certain opinions are trash, camat0.
Yeah, hey guys.
And now in HD, we've had him on before, but now he sounds way better. Welcome back, TheBoxer.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh my goodness, it sounds so much better. Lovely. Before we get into today's news topics, I just want to bring up something that happened this past weekend. The Misplay was having their 1-year anniversary show. They're another Eternal podcast. You should definitely check them out at themisplay.com. And they basically organized a Bay Area meetup for anyone that was in the Bay Area to come over to their recording studio in San Francisco and chat with them. And I went over to San Francisco to join them, and they asked me about Friends of Eternal, and I, of course, had a lot to say. It was a great time, and you should definitely check out that episode. I don't think it's out yet, not at the time of this recording, but be on the lookout for it, and be sure to check out themisplay.com if you haven't already. All right, let's get talking about Expedition. We had been talking about Throne for the last several episodes, but we've got a tournament coming up this weekend, and it's a little different than your typical ECQ. So this weekend's tournament is going to be what's called the Spring QCP Challenge. This one is going to be run very similarly to an ECQ, but the stakes are a little different. The cost to entry was only 1,100 gold or 900 gems, and the prizes, if you get 15 plus wins, you get 15 packs, 2 premium rares, and 5 QCPs. Less than 15 wins on the... you still play 28 games. Less than 15 wins will not net you any QCPs, but they will net you at least 10 packs. And then there are rewards for the top 64, of course. If you just make it into the top 64, you get 3 packs and 15 QCP, and the prizes scale up to first place with 10 packs, 2 diamond chests, and 75 QCP. So, are you guys going to be playing in this tournament, and how do you feel about it?
I like this a lot better because the previous system just incentivized grinding just so much. Like, you had to be playing so much Eternal every weekend if you wanted to be, like, fully competitive, in quotes, but now it's like you get some advantage for doing well in this. But it's not
I really
so
like
groundbreaking.
I think it's a really, really good change. I really like the new system. I think it's a big, big improvement.
Yeah, the old system, of course, had these Throne duels and Expedition Melee tournaments or events, I guess. They weren't really tournaments, but you'd have up to 42 games in a single weekend, which was just way too many. And I think this is two things that I'm definitely a fan of. One is having in-client tournaments that are similar to ECQs but don't quite have the stakes. And the other is a way to have this QCP system but not make it overwhelming to be able to try to qualify for them.
Yeah, like I think the key is like you should always feel like you want to play more and you don't have enough tournaments. Like if you have so many tournaments that you don't feel like playing one of them, that is probably bad. So I think this way we have enough tournaments that you can play them and you always feel like you want to play them. The other way around, like you burn it out very often. It was just too much.
Yeah, if we keep on having this ECQ style tournament, breaking up the gap between ECQs, that means that we'd have one of these tournaments roughly 2.5 weeks, right? Which seems like a pretty good amount to have, and half of them aren't as high stakes as the others.
Yeah, I think it's very reasonable. Like, I like this. I think it's pretty good. And I said this before, but I really like how the focus of the competitive scene in Eternal changed from one format to the other between tournaments. And that means, like, for 2 or 3 weeks, Tron is a casual format, and for 2 or 3 weeks, Expedition is a casual format. So, like, if you're a competitive player, you always have one format that is competitive. If you're a casual player, you always have a format that is more casual. If you are tired of one of the formats, you can go to the other. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. This fast rotation between the two formats has been like it's really there's more like as a competitive player, there's more stuff to solve on like weekly basis.
Yeah, totally. Like, after the ECQ, like, I start playing Expedition for the first time. So, like, I was playing with cards that I didn't even think to try in Tron because, like, they just don't have a chance. But in Expedition, they are, like, new cards for me, at least. So I really love that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I am loving the fact that we're switching between formats basically every month. And yeah, it's really that, along with balance changes, is making the metagame really fresh, and just the competitive play experience really, it doesn't get old, at least not the formats. All right, speaking of balance changes, let's talk about some of these changes that happened early last week. And I think it was right after we released our last show. So a few things on the list were targeted at Even Elysian, as we suspected, but Even-Handed Golem was not touched. Instead, Sodi's Spellshaper and Teacher of Humility both got hit. Sodi's Spellshaper now costs 1 extra to 3, still has the 2-cost Spellcraft, and Teacher of Humility is now a 2-cost 3/2 instead of a 3/3. How do you guys feel about these changes?
I like them both. Spellshaper just snowballs the game so quickly. Like, I don't know, it's a hard card to make worse but still playable. Like, I don't think it's very playable right now, but I'm glad it's gone.
I'm really happy about the Spellshaper nerf, not because I hated the card or anything, but because every time I play a competitive tournament with the Spellshaper, I give my opponent exactly the card they need to beat me. So I'm very happy that will not happen again. Like, I think I lost 2 ECQs to a Spellshaper that I played myself. Like, please, like, thank you for this. I will never play a Spellshaper again because now it's trash. And I'm so glad about that.
All right, our trash count is up to 1 on this episode.
Like, it's interesting because, like, when I first saw the nerf, like, I thought, okay, I think now it's really bad in Throne, but it's probably still fine in Expedition, right? But after the nerfs, I played some games with Elysian Flyers, and I think actually it's bad in both formats.
5 is a lot.
Yeah, 5 is just too much. In particular, like, maybe it's just because the deck, like, maybe Elysian Flyers is the problem and not Spellshaper itself. Like, maybe in that deck it's just too much. But yeah, I think right now I don't want to be playing Spellshaper in any form.
Interesting. I actually like Spellshaper in Elysian Flyers still, but we'll get to that a little later. I'm definitely glad to see Spellshaper nerfed. I'm glad to see Teacher nerfed. I think that we're delaying an inevitable Even-Handed Golem nerf, but I do think that there's a reason behind it. I think that Even-Handed Golem is just an incredibly popular card. If it gets...
Yeah, like, I understand why they don't want to nerf Golem, and I'm not sure it's wrong. Like, I see why they do it. Maybe it's fine. To be honest, I don't hate it. Like, it's not a card that I want to see nerf. The part that I'm worried about is the deadly combo, because I think the deadly combo is particularly strong in even decks because the card draw makes you so consistent and draw in the combo without committing a lot to that. So that is the part that worries me, that even Golem with the deadly combo is just a little too good, and like, I don't think you want the deadly combo to be good because, like, it's incredibly oppressive. Like, what is your out to the deadly combo? Don't play units. Like, I don't think it's very good, like, to have that being good.
Right. I think that's a good point, but I also think that's not something that we're going to have to deal with immediately because
No,
we're
sure.
going to be playing Expedition.
Yeah. But, like, I think it's very likely that at some point Touch get nerfs, like to be odd, like 3 cost maybe, like maybe even 1 cost just to make it odd.
I think it becomes a pretty good fair card, even if it costs 1.
At 1, I think it will be very good, probably, because like it's just so cheap, and there are so many other cards that you can do something. Like, I think the Deadly Combo is very interesting because I think we didn't explore all the potential of that. I think there are probably other homes for that. It's just so powerful. Like, you can kill every unit of the opponent, and like that is super powerful. So we'll see. We'll see. Like, about the other nerfs, basically they pick random time cards and they nerf all of them because like time was super boosted. They probably missed some. I don't know what is the system to pick the time cards that they nerf. I think they probably pick at random. Like, really don't know. I don't understand how is Tokas still in the game in the same form, but we'll see.
I cannot stand Tokas. Just delete Tokas. No,
I like, to be fair, you hate Tokas because you love Carver. Like,
I'm the Grenadin man. Yeah, I'm the Grenadin man.
yeah. Like, there is a little bias here, but I think there is a fundamental problem with the design philosophy of Direwolves right now. Not only Tokas, but a lot of these hate cards that are actually amazing main deck cards that you want to play no matter what. I think that is a problem. Like, I think if you have a card like Tokas that has a super relevant text that basically wins matchups when you play versus the right opponent, the card should at least be suboptimal when you draw it versus decks that the hate text is not relevant, and that is not
100% agree.
2 things. One, Tokus used to be a 3/4. It
was insane. Like, was insane, and like I don't know what they were thinking about. Like, clearly they don't test the cards, but we already knew that. Avigraft.
And 2, in the last ECQ, I played in a matchup where Tokus absolutely wins the matchup, and I had 4 Tokus in my deck, and I still lost.
Yeah, you can, but like, be realistic. Like, I think Tokas, like, as I said before, like, I don't have a problem in particular with Tokas, but with these cards like Garden, Cat, like, I think Pride Leader is another great example of this. Like, the card single-handedly makes Relics unplayable, and like, you don't pay a cost because you already want to play the card because it's amazing in every matchup. Versus Control is an ambush threat. Versus Aggro, you win the game if you play it. And you also make Relics unplayable for no reason because, like, why not? Like, I think these hate cards that, if they are popular, make some strategies like basically unplayable, should at least have a cost in the building. And I think they are just too good.
Hey, I played a deck that loved to see an opponent having Cat. Anyway, this is getting off topic. we do need to have an episode of all of Kamato's rants.
No, we will never end.
Well, yeah, I think it's great. It's like, what should we talk about this week? Oh, let's get Kamato on again.
Sure.
All right, so let's get back on topic. Some of the other nerfs that we saw are kind of at random. Entrancer now only silences enemies cards in the enemy's hand with 3 or less. Edict of Grodov now cost 4. And Borderland Lookout is now, well, it's a 0/2 with +1 strength for each type of influence the enemy player has. So if the enemy still has one type of influence, it's still 1/2, but if they have 3 types of influence, it's a 3/2 instead of a 3/4. I think that's a pretty good change. Borderlands Lookout was a pretty insane 1-drop.
I don't know, because like, yes, Lookout was the best 1-drop if you were attacking and blocking, but that is fine. I really liked how Lookout was a 1-drop that really punished the 3 faction decks. The 3 faction control decks.
So I agree in Throne. Like, I like how it punished decks in Throne, but in Expedition, like, you're already punished for being 3 factions because you have a horrible power base.
Hear me out. This is my other point. I understand why they are making this change, because like, this is a new set that also have a sub-team of 3 faction decks. So I understand that you want to nerf Lookout, because that also incentivizes people to play 3 faction decks and not get absolutely destroyed. So I get it. It's fine. but like I actually like it Lookout, and I'm sad to see it nerfed.
Well, I'd like it to... Okay, this is kind of weird, but I'd like it to stay the same as it was in Throne, but like be how it is now in Expedition.
Makes sense. I can get behind that.
After this ECQ, we're going to have the Borderlands Lookout buff.
Yeah, why not? Like, another thing I want to say, like, maybe this is not the moment, maybe we will get to that later, but the Strangers are insane. I think Growth of a Stranger is just an insane card.
Oh, it's messed up.
I don't understand how they release it in the form that it had before the nerf. I don't understand how they release it in the nerfed form that we have right now. I think the card is way too powerful in Expedition.
Undercosted Jotun Feast Caller that always draws you 2 cards.
Yeah, like I think the card is actually a problem in Expedition, like, but maybe we will talk about that later.
Oh, it should be a 5/5 at least.
We'll definitely have to talk about it. I think it's unplayable in Expedition.
This is the thing. I understand where are you coming, because I think there are decks that are very good versus the Stranger decks, and you have basically non-games versus them. So if you're playing one of these decks, like Strangers can look really bad. But the problem is, I think those decks also like have non-games where they lose to other of the popular decks. And that is why I think right now, Expedition is probably the worst format I ever played in my life in Eternal. And I hope to be wrong. It's too early. We'll see in 2 weeks.
It's entirely worked around Growth of Stranger.
Yeah.
Wow. This is like totally news to... I mean, I know I haven't been playing a ton of Expedition, but wow, I'm coming from a totally different angle. Let's just round out the nerfs, the balance changes, before we move on to talking about Expedition. Skyrider Vanguard is now totally unplayable. Yeah, like 5 cost 3/1. It used to be a 3 cost 2/1.
I just lost a game to the nerfed version of that card. I just lost. Like, my opponent played all the nerfed card. The Time Edict, Spell Shaper, that card, and beat it. So, like, I don't have any clue what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm just trash at Expedition, and I shall not talk anymore.
Okay, and Grodov Stranger and Makara Stranger got their stats tuned down a little. Now Grodov Stranger is 6/6, and Makara Stranger is a 4/3. I think that these don't affect the playability of them. I think they're still good in the same spots.
Like, the thing is, these changes are very, very minor, because, like, the Shadow Stranger, like, you don't care about the attack, because, like, as long as they don't change the health, like, who cares? And, like, the Time Stranger is already way too big, so, like, the difference is so small, like, who cares? It's still going to be the bigger thing in the board.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's talk about the Expedition format, because we haven't talked about it much on this show recently. We've been focusing so much on Throne. Let's first throw out the decks there that, throw out the names of the decks that we think are going to be players going into this spring QCP challenge and the ECQ, the Expedition ECQ that's going to follow a few weeks after. So I just jotted down a few quick notes here. I think that the decks that I'm going to expect to see are Majestic Skies, Unseens, Carver, Stranger decks, something that, you know, goes up to Grodov Stranger and Makar Stranger. I think that Armory might be a thing. FTJ has definitely shown up to some degree. Skycrag Dragons, and one that I didn't mention in this list is that I'm just remembering now is also there's a mono fire deck or like a super heavy fire deck that I've seen.
Yeah, I played versus that. Not sure it's better than playing like a Skycrag, but sure.
Yeah, it's some sort of... Well, it's certainly a lot more aggressive than Skycrag. All right, did I miss any? What do you guys think?
No, I think those are the biggest players. I think we can agree on that.
Well, okay, yeah, I agree. All of the players were listed by you. I don't think all the decks you listed were players. Like, I'm not impressed by Armory. There's dragons running around with the Draconic Ire. There's Banish in the format. Armory is a strategy from 2017. This is 2020.
Well, but like, to be fair, like when he's saying Armory, I think he means like Firetime Justice Control, not necessarily.
I mean that. Like, maybe there's some other, or I mean Armory as people are playing it now. Yeah, Kamato's right. Maybe some Armory deck is good, but like not what people are currently playing. I don't think Carver is good enough in Expedition. I've tried everything with that deck. I love the deck. It does not work in Expedition.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen you play anything other than Carver in the past month. One thing that might color your perception of Armory, I'm just talking about Rakano Armory, first of all, which I think is different from FTJ, yeah.
Yeah, Rakano, I've tried a little bit, and it's been better than FTJ.
Yeah, it's actually been really good for me, except it cannot beat Carver decks at all. It's just absolutely hopeless. And I think this ties into what camat0 was talking about earlier, about how based on the matchup, you just might not have a game because it's so heavily slanted one way or another.
Yeah, like the format is super, like, this is the thing. Like, I will talk a little about the format. Maybe you can talk in half an hour when I end, but but like, this is my opinion after playing like 3 or 4 days a lot of Expedition. Before that, I wasn't playing a lot, but the format is super synergy heavy. And that is one of the reasons, for example, why 5x Justice, I think, is a trap and is actually a really bad deck and super overplayed. Because 5x Justice Control is the classic good stuff deck that is playing a ton of really individually powerful cards. And that is just not good in this format. This format is doing a lot of really powerful synergy things, in particular with Growth of Stranger. I think all the Growth of decks that many of them are Sinan, other are 3 factions. There are a lot of things you can do with them. We are going to talk about that later. But like all these Growth of deck that are going bigger and bigger each day are really good versus control and can overpower control. Like, actually think they have better late game versus these control decks.
Control is the beatdown versus them.
Yeah, like, which is like absolutely awful. Then you have the Carver decks. Many of the Carver decks are actually also playing Growth of Stranger. They also beat all the control decks, and is probably not even close. Like, I think the Carver decks are insane versus control. Then you have like a lot of synergy decks that have really big loop-sided matchups between them. Like, for example, I think if you play Carver versus Armory, Carver is like 90% to win. If you play Unseen versus Flyers, Unseen is insane versus Flyers. Like, depending on the matchup, they are very, very loop-sided, which I really dislike. And basically every one of the good decks in this format is trying to high roll. And it has like some kind of semi-combo that can basically win the game on the spot. Like the Dragon decks, when they have a spell damage and they play the 1-cost spell that play all the 3 ones, if they play it for 3, they won the game, no matter what. Like, it's game over. If the Carver decks draw the Carver and all the enables, they will beat you. They are inconsistent, but when they do it, they beat you. If the Growth of a Stranger player plays Growth of a Stranger into Instinct, they beat you. Like, every kind of deck has like some kind of high roll. The Unseen decks are the worst of all of them.
Oh,
like,
God.
The Unseens, when they hit Unblockable double damage, like, you really want to stop playing the game. Like, I absolutely hate them.
It's kind of my fault that Unseen is popular, because I got rank 1 with it, which obviously like is not the end-all be-all, but like I said, I got rank 1 with Sir Rhino Unseen, and everybody started playing it.
Yeah, I think the deck is good. I'm not sure it's one of the best decks, but I definitely think it's a contender, and I definitely think I hate it, and I hope it's not good, because I don't want to be playing versus that deck.
Oh, it's miserable to play against.
It is so bad. Like, I really don't want to be, like, the gameplay is so bad.
Yeah, there's a lot of sources for variance in card games. Rolling random battle skills is not one that I want to deal with. That is, like, you could hit something that absolutely doesn't matter. Like,
Reckless.
I think that Reckless. Yeah, sure. Like, the difference between hitting one of those and like Aegis or double damage or something that, you know, makes your unit a real threat, or like a threat that can't be removed with Exalted or Revenge, is absolutely gigantic. And
Aegis is the most killed thing.
yeah, I mean, that's one of the ways of dealing with the Unseen decks, right? Is by using a lot of cheap removal, and Aegis prevents that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I absolutely despise this format. Like, I feel like at least half of my games, one of us is high rolling, me or my opponent, and it's who high rolls better. And like, the other half are games where one of the players plays solitary and the other don't play, because like the Unseen deck, when they get Flyers and Unblockable, you just don't play versus them. The Flyers deck, when they play versus mid-range deck that don't have a lot of removal. They play alone. Like, there are so many games that are miserable to play. Like, I really despise this format.
Okay, let's start talking about some of the other decks. What did we talk about? I guess we talked about the Unseen deck, right? Let's talk about the Skies deck. What is Skies good against and what is Skies bad against? What cards are you going to be putting in Skies? Like, what do you think is good in Skies? What do you think is bad? Personally, I've been playing a fair amount of Skies, and I think that Illyrian Curin is very good in it. I've been loving that card. It just seems like such a pain for the opponent to deal with. The mastery doesn't really matter that much, but it feels like a card that slows down all of your opponent's seek powers and enchants and their market cards.
It's fine. I think it's like, I actually think the card is better than people give it credit. And also, like, you don't care about how good it is because, like, I played Humbug in that deck and you are happy to play Humbug in that deck. Like, but I actually think the text of that card, the passive ability is actually very good and people don't give it credit. But
yeah,
the Flyers deck, like, I'm not sure because I played a fair amount before the nerfs. After the nerfs, I played very little. But my impression is, after the nerf, you want to be very aggressive with the deck. Before the nerf, I was playing a very mid-range deck that was able to outgrind other decks. Now I think that version of the deck is just bad because Spell Shaper was so important to have answers to relevant threats, and now that is so expensive, I don't like it. So I like to be more aggressive. I think one of the big things people is not doing that they should start doing is play 4 Primal Edicts in that deck. I think Primal Edict is fine main deck in every Primal deck right now. Basically, more than half of the format is playing Growth of a Stranger, so you can easily play Primal main deck.
It also hits Carver.
Yeah, well, it's not like you care about that with Flyers because Flyers is like already very good versus them.
Oh yeah, but I mean, like, Primal Edict is like just an amazing card right now.
It's really good. Like, also, like, it's really good because, like, I feel like the format right now is about, like, Growth of Strangers, and because Growth of a Stranger, like, all the people playing Growth of a Stranger is trying to outgrind each other and is trying to go in bigger. The other way to fight the metagame is going, like, way more faster, be in a super aggressive deck, and, like, a lot of these aggressive decks will be playing fire, like the Dragon deck. So, like, the Primal Edict will be good versus the hyper-aggressive fire decks and will be good versus the good time decks. So, like, what are you missing? Like, the only deck you miss is Unseens. But because Unseens is already, like throwing a dice, like, who cares? Like, it's not like you are going to play that game.
So I just want to touch on something you said about Illyrian Curin before we move on too far past it. It's a card that it's difficult to tell how good it is, like how much it's hampering your opponent. You don't get to see them having, you know...
Yeah, you basically need to play with someone you know so they can tell you how good it was.
Yeah, if they keep like a 1 power double seek power hand or something and you play Curin on one, they're just dead. And you probably won't be able to tell that. Or like, even if it's a 2 power hand, but they have multiple seek powers or multiple chances.
One of the things that make that card so much better is the market spells. Because like, the format is full of them, and that card is even better versus cheap spells than versus expensive spells. Because like, versus a 1 cost spell is a 100% increase in the cost. So it's such a big increase.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So let's talk about card choices for the deck a little. I've been thinking about it. I haven't really tested these out, but I'm thinking that Nesting Raven plus Ava might have some serious legs to it. Instead of playing something like Knight's Distillation.
Yeah, I think Distillation is not good anymore. Like, I think that was good when you were a grindy mid-range deck, but now I feel like you need to be a very aggressive deck with the Flyer deck. So I don't like it.
Yeah, you cannot try to outgrind Grodov Stranger. So like, Distillation is an amazing card if you're the grindy deck, but you cannot have that be your game plan.
Well, I mean, if you get Strange Sorcerer, I feel like you can outgrind anything. If you get a Strange Sorcerer going, you're drawing 2+ cards a turn.
Can that really I don't think that outgrinds the Grodov Stranger deck.
To be fair, it depends. Like, I think you can outgrind them, but only if you have a removal. If you don't have removal to stop the high roll of the Stranger deck, you will lose. But if you have enough removal, you can. Now, the other problem is you really don't want to be playing an stranger that will help your stranger opponents. In particular, one that will give power to them, because your whole game plan versus them is to be faster, and that the stranger can help the stranger deck to be faster. So like that is the big problem. Like the way, like I really dislike the design philosophy behind these strangers. Like they should learn from Magic what they did with slivers,
the
and
slivers.
make strangers only affect their owner strangers, because like it's a shit show. It's a shit show. Like I absolutely hate what happened when you play any kind of mirror of strangers, and the worst part is the guy that gets rewarded is the guy that is playing the worst deck, because if you're playing the worst strangers that are usually cheap and don't have abilities that activate when you attack, you get the most from the good strangers that your opponent is playing. So in the mirror, the guy that has the worst deck is going to win most of the time.
It's one of the worst matchups I've played in years.
It's awful.
No, you don't feel great if you win or lose.
And like every turn, no matter what play you can do, you can get punished for just playing your cards, which is an awful sentiment. Like you can't play your awesome card because you can get punished. Like, for the love of God, fix that.
I don't know. On turn 5, I was playing a Stranger Mirror. My opponent plays Traverse Farm on turn 4. On my turn 5, I play a Traverse Farm, and then all of a sudden, I guess I had Makar Stranger out. I was just drawing cards. My board was full. I attacked for so much that turn.
Yeah, because your opponent made the mistake to play in the farm first. The guy that plays the farm first loses. It's a fact. It's a fact.
I actually don't hate the dynamic.
I absolutely hate it. It's the worst shit ever. And if you disagree with me, this friendship is over.
No, that's like a very camat0 type of thing to say, because like you're all about playing like the super spike decks, like trying to figure out what's the best in the vacuum a lot of the time, right? But if someone is just metagaming super hard, you get so salty about it. Like, how many times have we heard you say, "Congratulations, opponent, you have my respect"?
But like, hear me out. Like, it's the worst thing ever, because like, imagine you are trying to make your deck. You are playing a good deck that plays a few strangers that are just good cards, and then you get randomly f***ed because your opponent is playing bad strangers that benefit from your stranger. Like, it's the worst sentiment ever.
I'm gonna have to put the explicit label on this one.
Yeah, sorry.
It really is. Like, again, this isn't so bad of a dynamic because, like, these strangers are good on their own, and you play, like, a reasonable deck, and your opponent who randomly put together a stranger deck without thinking, just randomly beats you.
What if it's not random, though? What if they're metagaming? Hey, some people like playing Var's Intervention because it silences things.
Yeah, but
or
like,
not playing Heart of the Vault
yes,
because
yes,
Eclipse
like
Dragon is just better in the metagame.
You can metagame, it's true, but you also lose to people that is playing bad decks for no reason, just because they are playing bad decks. Like, and that is an awful sentiment. Like, getting punished because your opponent is bad is the worst thing ever. Like, it's not even random. It's because he's bad. Like, that is the part that I really hate.
People have optimism bias for the synergy, and they just jam all the strangers they can into this deck, and then they beat you.
Oh man, I can't wait to play a show match against camat0 one day. This is going to be glorious.
Sure, whenever you want. But like I'm going to play like something really stupid, like Diogo combo. I'm going to play Solitaire, and I don't care.
Yeah, and I'll play. What's really good against Diogo combo?
Of course, I'm not going to play Diogo combo versus you. You are going to play an aggro deck. I'm going to play an anti-aggro deck.
I'm gonna play just one card that screws you over so bad. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Of course, that is the thing. Like, because we know each other, we know what we can end playing, so it will be an interesting game, because we are going to try to metagame each other. Like, I know you will be playing aggro, so then you need to play like whatever, but not aggro.
All right, Direwolf. Next TwitchCon, camat0 versus Sunyveil on the main stage. Let's go.
A stranger mirror.
Okay, so we were talking about how Sky's affects with or interacts with strangers. Let's talk about strangers. What type of
wait. I want to talk about the Sky's deck, because like I want your opinion about the matchups. Like, what are the good matchups? What are the bad matchups? Like, I think the stranger decks are probably the best matchup and the reason to play the Flyers deck.
I think Carver's the best matchup, but like Carver cannot deal with that swarm of Flyers.
Yeah, I think you're right. Carver is even worse. But like, yeah.
Yeah, I think those are the two good matchups. I think the deck is inherently inconsistent. So, like, even really good matchups might not even be that successful. But on the other hand, bad matchups, you can just, draw a 1-drop into Majestic Skies into Double Humbug.
Yeah, but like, when I played the deck, I felt like the 5 times Justice control deck actually was an awful matchup. Like, was
That's
a
possible.
nightmare. Like, if they play, like, in particular, if they are smart and are playing the display, like, the display absolutely destroy you.
Yes. But I mean, you could also, just play Kieran. Like, you could get them with Kieran. If you have double luring Kieran start, all of a sudden none of their stuff does anything. They have to, spend 2, 3, 4 power to answer one Kieran.
Sure, maybe. Like, I don't know, like, it depends a lot how heavy you are on weapons. It depends a lot of what are your draws. Like, I really don't know, but my impression is versus heavy control decks is not very good. Versus Unsins is very bad because Unsins, like, I think Unseen Commando is a nightmare for flyers. And like, they have a lot of ways to get flying and lifelink. So like, it can be very problematic. And endurance. Like, all the things that are problematic for you are things Unsins have. So I think Unsins is probably very bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, you can just nut draw them. So like,
yeah.
I
Like,
don't know. I think even these bad matchups, even though they are bad matchups, I don't think they're unwinnable. You just have to get lucky.
no, but I think they are actually very bad.
I don't think they're unwinnable, but you have to nut draw and they have to suboptimal draw because, like, if they draw unseen, like, or not commando, like camat0 set, like, it's basically game over.
Permafrost.
No, but they have a million ways. Like, they already play the card that give plus
Wind
4
conjuring.
endurance. Yeah, like they have so many ways to deal with permafrost. Like, permafrost is not even good versus them.
Equivocate Stick. Entrancer.
I really think you overestimate the matchup versus those decks. I think those decks are really, really good versus flyers. Like, as good as flyers is versus the other two decks. And that is the thing. Like, I feel like this metagame is all about like 70-30 matchups. But I hope to be
we'll
wrong.
See. If only someone was doing a data collection project on matchup data. Oh, wait! Quick shout out to Chrisier, who is doing such a thing. If you want to help his data collection, check out the tournament chat section of the Discord. And, well, he's trying to gather a lot of data before the tournament and see what the matchups look like, so you can have an informed choice to make going into the tournament.
I don't know. Like, I think that kind of effort is kind of scary because it can backfire so much. Like, the decks are not something static. They will evolve, they will change, and the matchups will change with them. So, like, using matchups that, like, the data from 2 weeks ago, when the metagame evolves so fast, when we are close to an ECQ, is a little dangerous, in my opinion.
There's so much ambiguity in what each archetype means, and there's also, like, player experience with the decks. You know, you can't account for that because that's too much more information to include. But, like, different people will play different archetypes differently.
No.
There'll be drastically
to be fair,
different lists.
I think a pretty good solution to any use of data is never trust good players. I think good players are the worst source of any kind of information about matchups. And I'm saying this because I know I am. Like, I'm awful at telling how good is a matchup or how bad. Because, like, you go play on ladder, and of course, like, you on ladder have at least a 60% win rate, even playing shit. And, like, then you have a matchup that in reality is super even, and you feel like it's good because, like, you just play better or play versus people that is bad. Like, you can never trust. Like, I think the best way to do any kind of data collection is to use bad players, actually. I think that is the best way to do it.
I've heard camat0 talk about this before, and now you know never to listen to any of us.
Yeah, exactly. That is the only lesson.
All right, can we talk about strangers now?
Sure.
Okay, so what do you like for strangers? Do you like a straight Xenon build? Do you like splashing a faction for a certain stranger?
I've been playing 5 times Justice strangers. I think is very, very powerful.
So one question I have before we go further is, when you say strangers, do you mean like full-on strangers? Do you mean Grodov stranger and like a couple other strangers?
No, first I need to say this. I think Growth of a Stranger is so broken that you can. Every deck that has Growth of a Stranger should play Farm and should play Reunite, even if you don't play any other Stranger.
Wow.
Like lately I've been playing Fire Time Justice Strangers question mark because only has Growth of a Stranger and it's just ramping into Growth of a Stranger. Like it's the only thing I do, and I think a very underutilized synergy is playing the Praxis Inspire guy, because if you use the Praxis Inspire guy, you can give charge to Growth of a Stranger, and that is insane. Like you can do turn 5, play the Praxis Inspire guy, play Reunite, and turn 6 you play Growth of a Stranger with charge. And that is insane.
I've been playing that in ramp, and it's just amazing.
Yeah. Also, like, of course, you are playing Instinct in every deck that plays Growth of a Stranger. Like, I think the Justice Stranger is actually pretty decent and don't see any play, but it's very powerful too, because, like, you already are building the deck around Growth of a Stranger, so, like, it benefits from all the same things in the same way the Shadow Stranger does. But, yeah. Like I think the Inspire mechanic is pretty good with the Strangers. Should be explored a little more. You have also like the Inspire guy that gives Killer in Primal that I don't see anyone playing. But to be fair, like that one is worse because have Reckless.
Is that card an Expedition?
To be honest, I don't know, because like I decide to not even try it because it has Reckless.
I don't think it is.
But I think the Praxis guy is amazing. Like I've been doing so many dirty things with Growth of a Stranger with charge. Like it's insane.
This is really interesting because all the Stranger decks I've been playing have been Majestic Stranger, Grodov Stranger, Makar Stranger, and I haven't really been playing much of Reunite or Farm.
No, I think they are very good. I want to talk about Sinan right now because I think there is a very important thing that people need to figure it out, and is what market spell you use. Most people is playing the time market spell, which is very good because you get the cultist, and then you can play Arc of Soul that you already have in the market, and that is very good because it allows you to play the Stranger faster. And in this meta, playing the Stranger faster is a very good strategy. But I actually think the Shadow spell is insane in Sinan because it gives you access to a lot of cards that just win the game versus a lot of decks. For example, you have a Scarf. If you play a Scarf versus Flyers, you won the game. It's one card that won the game. That is insane. If you go for the Hourglass versus a deck that is playing Primal, you probably won the game. That is also insane. You can go for Sabotage versus any kind of control deck that is relying on Carsoul and Shenroll and win the game on the spot. And you can go for the relic that gives Unblockable and you can activate every time if you are in any kind of board stall. Like, I think the Shadow Market spell in Sinan is insanely powerful because you have access to a lot of cards that basically win matchups.
In a lot of decks, I would like argue back, this is like often going down a card, but there's so much inherent card advantage in this deck that you often do not care about just going down a card with your Shadow Market.
Yeah. Like, I don't think losing like the Cultist for Arc of Soul is like a big downside. That is why I'm not sure what is the best way to build the market. But like, I think the access to things like a Scarf and Hourglass is insanely powerful. In particular, if yes.
5 markets are also just so clunky.
To be fair, I thought that at first, but if you think about the markets, like the problem is we're used to the old markets that had like a cost of 3. Basically, to have access to the market, you pay 3 for the merchants. So that means cheap cards go up in value because to play the merchant and the market card in the same turn, you need cheap cards. But with this market spell, that is not true because they are so cheap. So actually, expensive cards go up in value with these market spells, in my opinion.
Okay, maybe clunky is not the right word. There's a couple good options for 5, but like you are having to go down far in card quality. Like if you want a removal spell, you're playing Eviscerate.
Yeah, I agree with TheBoxer. I've been playing a bunch with the 5-cost market, and I have not been in love with it. Like if you're playing Grodov's Burden and using the Spellcraft to try to get rid of a relic, it just feels miserable.
So we all agree the Shadow Market is insane. Perfect.
Yeah, I think that. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, you don't have to play a market also, but
How you dare to say that? Dirty Flyers player.
yeah, I know, right?
I would normally say that, but you're in a deck with so much inherent card advantage, and like we've been saying, just these matchups are so polarizing and like high rolly that like getting these
don't worry, Boxer.
cards,
Like Sunny is only saying that because he plays Flyers, and Flyers is probably the only deck in Expedition that don't want to play a market.
That's actually true. I have been playing a lot of Flyers, and Flyers definitely doesn't want to market. So you got me. What can I say? Yeah. Okay. So like, I think the best market that I've seen is the Fire Market.
Yeah, the Fire Market
two costs,
is very
you can
solid.
get a lot of good stuff.
I think depends. Fire Market is the best control market, and the Justice Market is probably the best aggro market. I think the Justice Market is amazing in aggro decks, in particular because giving flying to a unit is super relevant.
Mm-hmm.
In particular in Unseen. Like in Unseen, I've been so impressed with the Justice Market. I haven't played Unseens, but they look so amazing every time they play versus me. They always high roll. I don't know how to beat them.
You can get Bloodletter with the Justice Market against aggro, and that's game.
Yeah. Also, like the weapon that has a spellcraft.
Oh, Master's Blade.
That weapon, I think, is amazing because, like, all the strangers usually, like, the good strangers don't have abilities. So, like, Fall Short is just a good card, I think, right now. So that weapon is amazing in Unseens. I really like it.
Okay, so we're thinking that Strangers is weak to Unseen. I think Strangers is definitely bad against Carver.
I think, like, I don't know. The versions of, like, it depends a lot. Like, I really don't know. It's so hard to tell because, like, when they can roll, I feel like I can't beat them with anything. But other times they don't do anything. So I really don't know. I feel like Unseens should be good versus other unit-based decks in general because the skills are so powerful in a unit-based matchup, and should be weak to the armory decks because, like, the 2-drop with Aehi is so easy to kill for them, and, like, once they don't have that, the rest of the deck, like, kind of falls apart, but I'm not sure.
All right.
I don't know. Like, I played Unseen really early on in the format, like, when people were still working on Throne, so I don't really have a good sense of what the matchups are now.
Yeah, like, it's so hard to tell. Like, at that point, like, no one was playing, like, anything good, so...
So, tell us about something that you do have a good idea of. Tell us about Carver, how you like to build it, what cards you think work well in it, what market you like, and aside from Skies being a terrible matchup, where you think its good matchups are.
For Carver, I like FTS because you don't have Press Gang anymore, so you have to go to Distillation, I feel. And then I don't like the full 4 Shrine main. I like two. I like the Fire Market. I originally tried the Time Market, but I just was not impressed with a lot of the options. Fire Market gets you Immortalize, which is big because it draws back a Carver or a Kato or a Guide. I don't know. I've been trying a lot of options in the deck. The big thing that's been holding it back is you don't have the same good fodder for sacrificing you did in Throne. Like, you don't have Grenadin Drone, which may seem kind of innocuous, but Entranced Cultist is no Grenadin Drone. You cannot, like, it's a lot harder to churn through your deck when your cards are slightly higher cost.
Still, I feel like the biggest problem they have is that they don't have Madness. Like, I feel like Madness is the biggest loss.
I think Press Gang is big, but Madness is big too because you just, like, I've tried 4 Combust, 4 Worthy Cause, that's way too much sacrificing stuff that did not work. Like, I didn't expect it to, but, like, I figured I'd try it. And, like, I've also been trying Banish recently instead of Worthy Cause, and that's kind of like, Madness is so good because it's in that deck often a no questions asked, just answer to anything.
And randomly wins games. Like, you play it on the Growth of a Stranger and just won the game for free.
It punishes people for playing these, like, just generically powerful units.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do not think Carver is a good choice in Expedition. Murder of Crows and I have been working on this deck a ton, and, like, we've tried just, like, everything, and it is not there. It's decent, you know. It's like maybe tier 2. It's a fun deck, like, you can rank up with it, but just, if you're trying to win, don't play Carver this weekend.
It probably has the best late game in the format, right?
Oh yeah, I agree with that, but it's not consistent enough early.
Yeah,
early game is
sure.
hurt too much in Expedition going from Throne.
No, I agree, but, like, I definitely like how good the late game is. And I do think it has the better late game in the format.
So what is it good against? It's good against control and like strangers?
I hear that, like, I didn't play it myself, but I hear that it can never lose to Firetime Justice.
Yeah, I've had that experience.
like it can't. Like, it's just not a good matchup. It can't lose.
Yeah, so this is consistent with my experiences because I've played a lot of strangers and a lot of FTJ, and I could never, ever beat Carver. So here we are. But I agree. I don't think the Carver deck is going to be a good performer this weekend.
Yeah. We all agree on that. Like, I'm really curious. Like, what do you think about the Primal Edict? Like, do you like it in the Flyers deck? Did you try it? Because I really think you can play it main deck.
I would never play that outside of Market, but it is.
I think you can jam 4 main deck.
It's so good.
It's a really interesting idea, but like I don't think
Try it.
I'll try it. But like I just don't. Man, I just don't think that, like, it does something that you can't already do. Because, like, Permafrost is so good. I have Ice Sprite as something that I can tutor up. I still have Spell Shaper. Like, I'm still playing Spell Shapers.
Yeah, like, that is the thing. Like, I think you need to stop playing Spell Shaper to want the Edict. And I think that is the case, but I'm not completely sure. And if you think you want a Spell Shaper, then it doesn't make sense. You don't want a lot of removal.
I don't know. I've never played the deck. As a Disciple of Lights Out Ace, I cannot play any token-like deck. But I don't think you want Spell Shaper. I think you're aggressive enough. You don't want these 5-drop removals. You just want the 2-drop. Like, stunning something is often... Like, it's not where you want it, but it's good enough as a fail case.
Yeah, also, as I said before, like, I think the format, like... Expedition has this problem, and had this problem a lot of the times. Like, it's so dominated by one faction. And I think time is the new shadow.
Sorry, Incarnus.
Yeah.
Oh, Incarnus is just bad in this format, I've felt. Like, or, okay, not bad, but like, it's so much worse than it was before.
It's just decent. Like, the problem is the format is so powerful now. Like, it feels like 10 times more powerful than before.
Yeah, we're not grinding people out. We're just getting powerful synergies and going with that. Just before I lose my train of thought, I think that playing Spell Shaper as a 3 and just hitting people with it is actually not bad. It replaces itself, and your opponent has to remove something
it's not the worst, but I don't think you are happy with it. Like, it is the big reason why Spell Shaper was so good, because like you can play it when you don't have other play and it's fine. Like, you don't need to use it as removal. It's a removal that is life versus control. Like, it's such a good card by itself, but now it's so expensive. I'm not sure. Like, as I said before, in Tron I think it's bad, but in Expedition I'm not sure. Maybe it's still good enough.
Yeah, I think it's something the Flyers deck still wants. Anyway, we were moving on to, what were we about to talk about?
No idea.
I don't think we had a direction.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Some other stranger deck? I don't know.
I think that most... Well, I don't know. I'm interested in Camat0's... you said Firetime Justice for strangers, right?
Yeah.
So that, to me, is pretty interesting. That's something I haven't thought of or tried. The Justice Stranger is very good. That's definitely something that jumped out at me.
So, like, let me explain why I'm playing those 3 factions that sounds so random for strangers. Basically, you want Justice for the only reason really why you want Justice is because you can play the Combray Power Stone. So, like, now you can play Prophet and the new Power Stone. So that means you have consistent ramp. Because in a format where Growth of a Stranger is so important, in my opinion, the best way to win is not to go bigger, but to be faster. You want to be playing the strangers before your opponent. You want to high roll before. The guy that wins the board wins the game. So I think having consistent ramp is one of the keys. So, like, going Combray means you have the Power Stone, the Prophet. You have also, like, the 3/3 that with Mastery plays power. And you go for Fire because it's so good to be Praxis, because you get the Inspire guy that gives charge. So, like, those are the 2 reasons why you splash these factions. Like, basically, right now I'm playing a mono time deck that is splashing Fire and Justice.
Yeah, the ramp is definitely a huge part of it, and the new Power Stone, it's like Eternity Pillar or something, right? Pillar of Eternity?
Pillar of Progress.
Yeah, that seems like a really big part of ramping up, if that's what you're trying to do.
I don't play any 4-cost ramp myself, but it's interesting, like, Maybe you want that? I don't know.
Geez, I think that, oh yeah, I think Oasis is just a fantastic card, but I can't seem to find a good place for it because it does what Eternity Core did, right?
Yeah. Like the thing, like the problem with Eternity Core and now with Oasis is like you want to be going really big. Like you don't play that card if you want to play 6-drop. You play that card if you want to play 8-drops, right? So I don't think the format is about 8-drops. I think the format is about 6-drops. So I think
Yeah.
2-cost ramp is good, 4-cost ramp is not. At least right now.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. All right. Aside from that, I think that every other build of Strangers is going to end up being Xenon because you want to play Makar Stranger, and that's really powerful.
That's the thing. Like Makar Stranger is amazing, but it kind of sucks in the mirror because you play Makar Stranger and your opponent will draw cards, and the attack is actually not good because it doesn't kill any relevant. Like the things you want to kill in the mirror are the other strangers. So Makar Stranger is kind of bad in the mirror. So I'm not sure you want to be base Xenon necessarily. You definitely want to be base Time.
Yeah, it's terrible in the mirror, but
No, I agree it's a super powerful card, but I mean like I don't feel like at first I thought the same as you. You want to be Xenon base and maybe splash a third faction. Now I'm not sure you want to be Xenon base. I'm sure you want to be Time base, and like then you see.
yeah. And Magnificent Stranger is very, very good also. Okay, so one deck that we haven't really talked about much at all yet is Skycrag Dragons, and that seems like it's got some legs. It's got its own version of a Power Stone, and it's got Acidonis, which gives +3 spell damage to a spell in your hand, often Cinder Clutch. If you're able to hit something with it, how good do we think Skycrag Dragons is going to be? How do we think we should build it? Any opinions on it? Because
I did not play it myself, but for what I'm seeing, at first I thought the deck was really bad because I was beating it with anything I was playing, but like then I started seeing better versions of the deck, and I think the good versions of the deck that are more aggressive and like have this spell that plays the 3-1s that I never remember the name, have a pretty high roll potential, pretty big high roll potential. So I really like that. Like they sometimes do things that are really, really powerful, and of course they have evasion, which is very important in the Stranger matchup. The big problem is if you don't have a super fast hand, you have a really big problem with Growth of Stranger because you don't have many answers.
You don't have any answers except for like a Market Edict, do you?
you can have Permafrost or something.
You can play Permafrost, but if you're playing, that is why if you play a Shadow Market, you just win because you go for Hourglass.
Yeah, I think that the Dragons deck has a really high ceiling on how it can play out, but I also feel like it can be just super clunky. Like you have a hand with, like 3 Dragon Forges.
I think that is the key. Like if you play dragons, you want to be fast. Like the people that is trying to go big is making a mistake. Like the dragon deck needs to be fast, needs to be an aggro deck.
I don't think you want Dragon Forge. I think that's too much of the... Like, you're not trying to assemble Kozin plus Persuader anymore. You're trying to do this weird spell damage thing, and I don't think Dragon Forge is good anymore.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that can be the case. Like, I'm not sure about that, but like I definitely think the Dragon Relic is amazing. Like, that is probably the most powerful card I have. Like, that card does so much for the deck. But I do think you should not be scared of playing Also, I think the dragon players should not be scared about of playing bad dragons. Like you can play a mediocre dragon if it's a 3-cost dragon. I think that is probably right. You really want a low curve,
like Burning Core Drake.
Yeah. Like I think these mediocre 3-drop dragons are actually good in the deck.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, if you play that instead of something like Dragonforge, then all of a sudden you can Cinder Clutch on the next turn. All right, I haven't tried out that build of it, but I was playing some Skycrag Dragons, and I was impressed by what it was able to put out when it had a good draw and your opponent didn't kill your Acidonis. So I'll definitely have to try it.
Yeah, I definitely think like the good draws of the Dragon decks are very, very impressive. I'm a little worried about the control matchups because like you are playing so many pieces that don't really do much versus control. So I'm not sure about the control matchup, but as I said before, the control decks I'm not a fan so far. We'll see, like, if someone comes out with a really good control deck, maybe they will, and then things change. But right now, I want to be far away from the control decks. I think the mid-range decks are super powerful. I want to be super aggressive with evasion, with the high roll potential, or I be playing Growth of a Stranger in a mid-range shell. I think it's very important that if you want to play any kind of aggressive deck, you need to have evasion. You are not going to win the on the ground. Don't try to play like things like Onis, because like if you are trying to win on the ground, you are going to get a smash.
All right, so you mentioned control decks. We haven't really talked about those much. There's the FTJ deck. I don't think we'll talk about this that much, but it plays like Shenra Speaks. It plays the Gauntlet that Age-Sworn Vestige, right? That casts Harsh Rule. It also it goes up to Zulta Arcanum, which I think is its best way of winning the game, which is not that's not exactly glowing praise. So it's kind of like an Armory-esque deck. I mean, it has some relic weapons, but for the most part, it's sweeping. It plays Nahid's Distillation, just tries to generate card advantage with Display of Creation. It's a control deck, but it just doesn't seem like a particularly good one.
Yeah, the big problem that deck has, in my opinion, is that it doesn't have a card like Icaria. Like, it's really missing that finisher that goes from losing the game to winning the game in 2 turns. Like, the deck can't do that. It needs so many turns to finish the game, and that gives the opponent so many opportunities to recover, and don't really have inevitability because like it doesn't have enough card advantage. And yes, it generates value with some of the cards like the weapons, but like in reality, you can outgrind it, and that is the big problem.
Yeah, like you're not outgrinding Carver decks, you're not outgrinding Stranger decks.
And you don't have that finisher that can just win the game in 2 turns like Icaria. Like, that is the big problem. Like, it's really missing Icaria.
Well, you might have a finisher, but you don't have a finisher that plays defense as well as Icaria does, and I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, but like, what is the finisher that like ends the game in that deck?
Like I said, Zulta Arcanum. Or a relic weapon that attacks for like several turns. That's what I'm saying. I just like think that that's a big weakness of the deck.
I think Arcanum is actually very good on defense. The problem is it doesn't finish the game fast.
Yeah. I mean, they can also manage to kill it. Like if they pull out an Edict, all of a sudden, you're not getting your what's the one that draws 2 and heals 2?
Yeah. Also, like I don't think they can afford to go for like Kairos. Like, the influence is already pretty bad, I think, and like they don't have units that naturally play well with Kairos. So
yeah, like what are you doing when you play Kairos? You draw 2 cards from your Amber Acolyte.
Exactly.
So you shoot something for 2 with the future Amber Acolyte. It's not very exciting. So yeah, it is a deck. We talked about that might have been before the cast. We don't think Naoki's good. TheBoxer says that it's very far from playable. I think it's just not playable.
Yeah, like, this is the thing. I think Naoki is an excellent card that is absolutely awful in the format. Like, I don't think you want to be playing Naoki in this format. Like, it's the point I said before. Like, this is a very synergy-heavy format. Like, good staff cards that are individually powerful don't do anything in this format.
Yeah, you're attacking, they're going to block with a cultist or something. Then they're going to combust it or whatever, and you don't have any other units. So yeah, that's I think that this control deck definitely has holes before it's going to be considered a top tier deck.
The problem with the control deck is, I think, like, it's basically the classic Feln deck. It's the most popular bad deck in the format. It will be played. Like, basically, you need to be ready for this deck because people will play it. It doesn't matter how bad it is. So like, you can't ignore it, which is awful because like maybe you say, oh, my deck is great, it's only bad versus this awful deck that no one will play, but they will play it. So like I hate this situation because like you can't ignore it. It doesn't matter how bad it is, people will play it because people love this kind of decks that are full of legendaries.
All right, let's talk about another possible control deck, and that is Armory. I think that if you are playing Armory, it's kind of a mid-range deck.
So now we are talking about Rakano or Firetam Justice?
Just Rakano. I think that this deck wants to be playing cards like Fury Blade. I think it wants to be playing lots of recursion for its weapons. There's just if you're just playing Rakano, you basically have like no way of answering any sort of swarm. Like,
Yeah.
You lose to flyers so hard.
yeah, are you getting up to 9 power to play Age Thorn Vestige and Harsh Ruling off that? Like, you don't have Shenra Speaks. So I think this deck is like really good against like strangers or unseen. You just go for one for one answers, yeah?
Wait, what are you doing against, like, I guess you have, like, Vanquish against Stranger, but you can't run a weapon in a Grodov Stranger.
No, but you can play Fall Short and Vanquish. Like, I do think you can have answers. Like, the big problem is flyers. Like, I think flyers needs to disappear from the game for that deck to be good. Because, like, basically, like it's like the Carver control matchup. It's the same.
Yeah. So you have some strong things that you can do, like Rakano Artisan is in the format, and like I was saying, you can recur your weapons with things like Strange Blacksmith.
The big thing I'm not sure about that deck is, do you really want to be a control deck, or do you want to be a mid-range deck that is pressuring the opponent with weapons?
Yeah, you're more of a mid-range deck. So you're basically, you can't lose against FTJ. I think you're pretty good against Unseen because you can usually answer them. Like you
also
can deal
like
with Aegis.
It's very good that you have weapons for the Aegis.
Yeah, you have the one that silences them also, which is fantastic.
That weapon is very good.
So yeah, like the deck has some legs, but it also has huge holes. I don't think it's a top deck, but it is a deck that could show up.
Yeah, also like it has the big problem that it's one of the few decks that don't have any high roll potential. Like, you don't have a draw that you say, oh, I won the game. Like, you're just like a decent deck. But like all of the other decks that are really good and we really like are decks that sometimes have a hand that just win the game no matter what the opponent does. That is why I think like Unseens, Flyers, Strangers, those are good decks. Like, they will randomly win a game that you have no business.
Yeah. TheBoxer, did you have something to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, like, the deck as a whole, it's like, Rakano has been better than the other variants. The card Jadehorn in particular has really impressed me, but I don't think it's enough to carry a deck. But, like, that card does so much work. It stabilizes against aggro.
That is the 3/3?
Yeah, the 3/3 that lets you attack twice.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, that one's really good. I couldn't remember the name of it. 3/3 Warcry. You get 3 armor, and summon you get 3 armor, and you get to attack an additional time. It is very good. And it has Corrupted for some reason. It's one of those cards that just has Corrupted stapled on.
Yeah, there are so many cards. Like, it didn't happen to you that you read a card, you say, okay, this card is very good. And then you find out that it also is corrupted. Like,
yeah.
Why the
slot?
the slot? Like, why it has corrupted? Like, that card is just really good. Why do you need more? Like, yeah, like so many of these cards like are so insane. I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried about this set because like the direction is a little scary because like they really want the cards to be playable in Tron. And that means Expedition right now, like, I think Expedition is a shit show because of that. Like, I really think the format is insane. I hope to be wrong.
Just to recap, what do we think the good decks going into this weekend are? Camat0, you mentioned Majestic Skies, Unseen, and Strangers. Can we add Skycrag Dragons to that list because it has those hands that you look at and you're like, well, I win, or I'm very likely to win?
Yeah, I think that is very important. Like, you need to have some high roll potential. Like, if your deck don't have free wins, I don't think you want to be playing that deck this weekend. In particular because, like, still the metagame is super open. Like, people don't know exactly what is going on. So, like, better have free wins because you don't know if you're going to have good matchups.
Mm-hmm. All right, so if the tournament is starting in 5 minutes, what deck are you registering and why? TheBoxer, let's start with you.
5 minutes. I think I'm probably registering Dragons just because I hate this Stranger Mirror. I know, like, Dragons just does power. It has the high roll potential. It does powerful stuff. Yeah, I don't want to be managing I want to play my farm second stuff. Yeah.
I think we lost Camat0. I hope we have his audio. Okay, well, if the tournament starts in 5 minutes, I am going to be playing Majestic Skies, and the reason why is because I think that it just has that huge high roll potential. I think it's really good against Carver, which is going to be popular. If people play FTJ or Armory, I'm pretty okay with playing against that as well. And yeah, so that's my choice for the weekend. Okay, that about wraps it up. Anything else that we didn't get to in this cast so far, TheBoxer?
I don't think so.
All right, well, thanks for joining me. Is there anything you'd like to plug, Team Rankstar?
Yeah, Team Rankstar, as always, like, great article, a lot of great players, good articles. Also, like, as always, FE, I got my start there. Amazing community.
Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and plug again the data collection project that Chris Ye is doing, where he's trying to find matchup data on all the common decks in the format. So be sure to check that out in tournament chat. And also check out the Piloting Club, which is being run by camat0, where we take a look at videos of people playing and give feedback to them. I think it's helped a lot of people so far, and I'm looking forward to where it goes. So check those two things out in the FE Discord. Of course, if you're not a part of the FE Discord already, I can't recommend it highly enough. It's the place to be if you're looking to get better at Eternal. 2 of the players in the top 4 of the last tournament are from the Discord, and 20 of the top 64. It's just full of all the most successful players in Eternal. What can I say? Be sure to check it out. You can also support FECast on Patreon if you go to patreon.com/Friends of Eternal. If you would like to help support FECast, keep this show going on, and any other endeavors that we might have in the future, and you have some extra money, feel free to consider donating. All right, camat0 is back, right?
Yes.
We were talking about plugs, but first, if the tournament is starting in 5 minutes, what deck are you registering for it and why?
Right now, I think I will play the 5x Justice Stranger, because like it's what I was playing today. But like, ask me in 5 minutes and I will change my mind. So don't listen to me. Like, I never know. I always change my mind at last minute.
Okay. And is there anything you'd like to plug as we wind this show down?
No, it's fine. Like, you can always watch my stream and my YouTube channel. Just search for camat0. If you want someone that barely speaks English and hate everything, I'm your guy.
That's camat0 with a 0 at the end. I'll definitely leave links in the show description. All right, thanks for listening to FECast. If you enjoyed it, tell a friend. If you enjoy Eternal and you have some friends that don't play, well, you should mention it to them, because I think all of us would like to see more people playing Eternal. It just does so many things well. I could go on about that for a while. Anyway, thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time. Until then, we'll see you in the friend zone. Friends of Eternal is awesome, but you know what's even more awesome? Our amazing patrons over at patreon.com. That's right, Friends of Eternal now has a Patreon where you can help support the content and initiatives of Friends of Eternal. If you enjoy FECast and you enjoy the Piloting Club and you want to join the people that make all this possible and sustainable, be sure to head over to patreon.com/Friends of Eternal and consider donating. Every little bit does help. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time on FECast.